Let's talk about WrestleMania. WrestleMania 42. WrestleMania 42 is happening, and it's happening in Las Vegas, Nevada. Yes, it's happening in Las Vegas, Nevada. And of course, you guys know the story. They originally announced for New Orleans, but then they screwed over New Orleans because they got more money from Las Vegas. So then they decided to put WrestleMania once again in Las Vegas. And I'm not really excited about WrestleMania in Las Vegas this year, considering the fact that WrestleMania last year was kind of crap. But we got updated plans for the main event of WrestleMania 42. WrestleMania 42, okay, so the rumored main event that was in the reports throughout the past couple months was that they were going to run it back for a third time, and they were going to do Cody versus Roman 3, and that left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Me personally, I didn't really have a big problem with it. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that, number one, both Roman and Cody matches were freaking phenomenal matches. Like, in and of itself, the matches were great. But I think the big reason as to why a lot of people did not like the idea of a possible Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns match was because of the fact that, number one, it was going to get repetitive, and number two, what was really the story going into that match? Because if you look at the WWE product now, and look, I really haven't been paying attention to the WWE product. I've only been watching like a couple of highlights because there's really nothing interesting going on WWE programming right now. The biggest issue right now with WWE as a product is there's no main story going on, especially like, going into WrestleMania. If you look at the past couple of years, dating back from WrestleMania 39, WrestleMania 40, and WrestleMania 41, those WrestleManias had a narrative going into that WrestleMania in terms of the main eventing, especially with Cody Rhodes. WrestleMania 39, of course, Cody Rhodes came back the year prior, WrestleMania 38, and he wanted to win the title that his father, never was able to win. And he went after Roman Reigns. I still thought Cody should have won that, but whatever. He lost, and a bunch of people were pissed, but they basically took the high road and built up Cody even more because he didn't face enough adversity, which makes sense. And Cody was more over when The Rock came in the build-up to WrestleMania 40, and you guys all know that fiasco. The Rock tried to change things last minute like he always does because he has to ruin everything, but then the fans rebelled and wanted to go towards Cody, and WWE were forced to change the WrestleMania event, the WrestleMania main event, to Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. And that led to the phenomenal overbooked, and yes, it was overbooked match. It was overbooked, but it was phenomenal and it was amazing match between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, which led to Cody Rhodes winning the undisputed WWE Championship. Then we lead to WrestleMania 41. The narrative going into WrestleMania 41, especially in the main event, was John Cena, considering 2025 was John Cena's last full year as a full-time professional wrestler. And, of course, he recently turned heel at the Elimination Chamber, and he wanted to win number 17. That was the story going on, and then arguably led to, now looking back, because I had a different opinion when I watched the match, but now looking back, considering the nature of John Cena's heel run, it was a flop. Arguably one of the worst WrestleMania main events of all time. There was really, there was some sort of narrative going into that WrestleMania with John Cena, but after, the John Cena heel run, they kind of just went wherever they wanted. And then, of course, Cody Rhodes won the title back at SummerSlam. He feuded with Drew McIntyre and dropped the title a couple of Fridays ago on SmackDown in the 3 Stages of Hell match. And by the way, Drew McIntyre winning the the WWE title was the right move to make, because Cody Rhodes' WWE title reign, his second title reign, in my opinion, was kind of a flop. But at the same time, a lot of people are kind of debating whether or not Cody Rhodes should turn heel now. Some people are saying he should turn heel going into WrestleMania. I actually don't think he will. I think eventually he will turn heel, but I don't think right now is the case because he still sells a bunch of merchandise. And he's still relatively over with the crowd at a time where yes, he's starting to get those negative reactions, and he did get that negative reaction last year in Las Vegas, and he's most likely going to get that negative reaction now in Las Vegas this year at WrestleMania, but I think he's still over everywhere else. So it's going to take time. And keep in mind, Austin had a short run, from like 98 when he became 98 where he became the man. Basically, like his run lasted like 2 or 3 years until he turned heel. John Cena, on the other hand, I mean, throughout the entirety of his babyface run, he never turned heel until last year. Cody, I mean, you could still wait on Cody in terms of a heel, but I genuinely believe that the seeds are starting to be planted in some way, shape, or form. But we got updated plans on the main event for WrestleMania 42. And some of those plans are very interesting. Now, WWE, according to the Wrestling Observer, has changed the course for its WrestleMania 42 main event. The plan had been for a third Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns match to headline the show. However, Dave Meltzer wrote in today's Wrestling Observer newsletter that Triple H soured the idea of running a third Rhodes versus Reigns match in 4 years. Dave Meltzer stated this, and I quote, "The way it was explained is that Paul Levesque took another look at the Rumble to Mania planned direction and decided that doing a Rhodes versus Reigns match for the third time in 4 years and spending months building the direction would lead to audience fatigue. The change in WrestleMania plans and the decision to have Drew McIntyre win the WWE Championship were made within 48 hours of the title change taking place. There are now 2 potential WrestleMania main events under consideration: Rhodes versus McIntyre or a 3-way with Rhodes versus McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu." Meltzer continued, and I quote, "We were told that Reigns will be the odd man out of the WWE title picture. He is scheduled to return at the Rumble, and one would expect his direction to be clear there. The 2 ideas for WrestleMania at this point are a 3-way with Rhodes, Fatu, and McIntyre, or just McIntyre versus Rhodes." Meltzer also noted that both McIntyre and Rhodes pushed for McIntyre to win the WWE Championship with the idea that Rhodes is going into WrestleMania changing the title rather than defending it would be a fresher story. New WWE Champion Drew McIntyre is set to appear on the SmackDown in London, which already happened, and had a fantastic segment with Randy Orton and then, of course, Jacob Fatu. But by the way, Drew McIntyre is great at what he does. I'm so happy that he is the WWE Champion right now, because think about this. Every time WWE booked Drew McIntyre in some sort of title match, they always had Drew McIntyre lose. Always had him lose. Of course, during the CM Punk feud, they always had CM Punk cost Drew McIntyre the title, which totally made sense because, of course, he was still in an ongoing feud with CM Punk, and that made for great TV. I feel like the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre feud definitely, Drew McIntyre is already a main guy, but they made, like, that feud itself made Drew McIntyre more likable than he already was. He was already likable, but that feud made Drew McIntyre more likable than ever. And now look at Drew McIntyre. Like, Drew McIntyre right now is a heel, but you see all the reactions that Drew McIntyre is garnering with the crowd. He's getting relatively positive reactions with the crowd. A lot of people are loving Drew McIntyre and the work that he's doing right now. 100%, I'm a fan of his. He is absolutely fantastic, and he always has been. Always has been. His promo ability, everything about Drew McIntyre is just fresh. And he's been in the main roster for years now, since 2018? Because he made his return to NXT in 2017, but then he moved to the main roster in 2018. But Drew McIntyre is doing a lot of great things now. He is. He's doing right now, Drew McIntyre is the made man. He is the made man. And him being a top heel, honestly, is fantastic. But in terms of the WrestleMania main event, I'm very curious about it, because the 2 matches that Meltzer pointed out, either the one-on-one match between Cody and McIntyre, sounds great, but Cody and Drew have been feuding for a while now. And I don't know if fans want to see that again. But the chase with Cody Rhodes going after the world title, in a way, is kind of refreshing, but at the same time, what if he wins the Royal Rumble for a third time? Not for a third time in a row, but for a third time. I don't know. I feel like there's probably going to be some sort of backlash when it comes to Cody Rhodes. The three-way in terms of Jacob Fatu, Cody, and Drew sounds intriguing, but at the same time, it just does not sound like a WrestleMania main event. Now, granted, there are many times where there was a three-way match as the main event of WrestleMania. I mean, a lot of people, of course, are going to, sorry about that. A lot of people, of course, are going to be pointing towards the three-way at WrestleMania 20 with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chris Benoit. I mean, a phenomenal main event, arguably one of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time, but it will never be mentioned again for obvious reasons, and rightfully so. I don't have to name them. You know the incident that happened. Also, there was, of course, Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus Batista. I mean, look, there have been times where three-ways, were the main event of WrestleMania. In this case, honestly, I'm not sure. Because again, at the start of talking about this topic, there's really no big giant narrative or big storyline going into this WrestleMania. Like, really, for the first time in a while, I'm like, really, what is going to happen at WrestleMania? I genuinely don't know what's going to be happening at WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble is definitely going to be very interesting because clearly the Royal Rumble is going to be stacked just as much as last year. Last year's Royal Rumble was stacked, but this year's going to be very interesting. What is Cody Rhodes' role going to be in that Royal Rumble? What is Roman Reigns' role going to be in that Royal Rumble? Because I genuinely believe Roman Reigns will be a part of that Royal Rumble match. If he wins that Royal Rumble, are they going to go forward with Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns? I genuinely believe they might. But at the same time, will the audience accept it? Honestly, I have no idea. Because again, I just do not know what's going to happen for WrestleMania. We're probably going to get a lot of answers at the Royal Rumble. If Cody Rhodes wins, then he's going to face Drew McIntyre. But keep in mind, we also got the Elimination Chamber. What's going to happen at the Elimination Chamber? Because the Elimination Chamber has stakes for WrestleMania as well. It depends on what title is it for. Because if, for example, Cody Rhodes wins the Royal Rumble, he's going to go after the WWE title. He's not going to go after the World Heavyweight title. It just makes no sense. And that leaves open the shot for the World Heavyweight title, which is CM Punk's title, at the Elimination Chamber. So, again, it's very interesting. But now that Drew McIntyre is in the mix, it makes it a little bit more exciting. Because with now Drew McIntyre being in the mix, obviously WWE is changing their plans for WrestleMania. And at the end of the day, that's something positive. Because if they just went with Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, I'd be fine with it. I personally would be fine with it. But I don't know if the majority of the audience would be fine with it because they don't like repetitiveness. But at the same time, Cody and Roman are not capable of having a bad. They never had bad matches. Both their matches were classic matches in my opinion. Phenomenal matches. Great. I mean, people will talk about those matches forever. But still, are fans ready for a third match between those guys? Do fans want that third match? I don't know. Most likely, I honestly don't think so. We're going to have to wait and see, but we're going to get a lot of answers at the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble is definitely something to keep an eye out for. Saturday night's main event. Saturday night's main event is actually happening, yes. Saturday, January 24th, that being next Saturday, and we got the card for Saturday night's main event. We got Cody Rhodes taking on Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu was a big factor as to why Cody Rhodes lost the WWE Championship. Not intentionally, but we all know what happened. We got Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu. Jade Cargill will take on Jordynne Grace for the women's title. And this has been Jade Cargill's first title defense in more than 2 months. Imagine that. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky will take on Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez for the WWE Women's Tag Titles. And there's going to be a 4-way number one contenders match to determine the number one contender for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble, being Randy Orton, Trick Williams, Sami Zayn, and Damian Priest. Some people are saying Randy Orton, considering he was a part of the segment with Drew McIntyre, But some people are also stating that Sami Zayn might be the challenger for Drew McIntyre. And honestly, a Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre match sounds more intriguing for the Royal Rumble. Even though Sami Zayn is not going to win, it sounds more intriguing for the WWE title at the Royal Rumble. We're going to have to wait and see, but that is Saturday night's main event for you.